For joining us for our school board meeting tonight. We're going to go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome to our board meeting. It's always exciting when we have our students in the audience, so thank you guys so much for coming. Do we have any needs for translation? Okay. We've got that taken care of. Thank you. At this time, I will accept a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Now we'll turn it over to our superintendent, Dr. Perez, for our recognition portion.
Yeah, we appreciate everyone that's here tonight and the opportunity for the board to recognize excellence in our school district. And so we've invited Kat Atchison to share with us a really cool story about Othello High School and the arts.
Can you guys hear me? So every year the high school does a theater production, which is led by Mindy Christensen, Tom Christensen, and then they have Abby and Jane who do light and the staging. And they start working on this way back in like February, March, April, starting to figure out what they're going to produce. Tom creates all of the costumes and sewing and doing all of the production, and it's always an amazing production. And this past year, the 13th, 14th, and 15th, they just completed the fall performance, which was a Midsummer Night's Dream. So if I can have Mindy, Tom, and Jane come on up, and then if I can have the cast and the crew also come up, they give a lot of time and practice, and it was amazing. Yes, all of you guys come on up. The one thing after talking with Tom and Mindy regarding the production, because I was blown away this year, I'm always blown away by our kids and the performances that they do, but a good chunk of our kids this year, it was their first performance that they've ever done, and some of them have been in either behind the stage or whatnot, but they were some key players or cast members this past year, and I said to them afterwards, where have you been the last 3 years? So it's been an amazing production, and I'll let Tom, if you want to say a few words about your cast, but this is just 40 kids, the ones I could get here tonight to be recognized. Some more are coming on in, but they deserve this recognition because it was an amazing performance and a lot of time and dedication from backstage to on stage to everything in between, and it was just a good job. Do you want to say anything?
I'd just like to say, if you know any of these kids, you know how amazing they are. There's a huge diversity among them, but they're all absolutely outstanding. And for the last 25 years, which is kind of frightening, I've had the pleasure of being able to pick the cream of the crop from the Huskies to be able to put on stage every year. They're a pleasure to work with. They work so hard. That Shakespeare, it was the real thing. It wasn't altered. There were a few of long monologues that were cut, but it was the real deal. And they had their lines memorized, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks before performances. Absolutely outstanding work. The kids that were working backstage had so much to juggle in helping kids get in the right places at the right times and everything. They all just did an absolutely outstanding job. And it makes me just want to keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was like, we might not all fit.
Little shorties in the front. Sorry.
One, two, three. Cheese, smile. Got it. Thank you.
Good job, guys. Good job, guys.
Before you guys leave, I just wanted to say congratulations on being so awesome, and an extra special thank you to the Christensen family for all of the hard work that you put in. We have great students, but none of this would be possible without your hard work and dedication, from the costumes to the play and all of your extra time and everything. So thank you, everyone. And thank you for coming tonight. We love to celebrate our students, so thank you so much. The good news is the rest of the meeting is really boring, so if you guys want to leave, feel free. You're welcome to stay, but it's...
Oh, no. We can keep them busy for about 2 hours, but that's if they're talking. And
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming.
thank you very much for having us. Thank you so much.
So we'll go from one student recognition to the next. We're going to throw it over to our student reps.
Okay, so for leadership and CTE leadership, we went to this one field trip to CELA, which was the Involve field trip on November 13th. And we learned a lot from this guy who's very good at letting students be recognized and making it accessible for every student to participate in some way. So some things that we learned were to make like dress-up days or spirit weeks, dances, assemblies like accessible. The things that we identified was for students to to be messaged focused, appealing, social, accessible, and safe. So those were some key tips that we learned that we're going to apply to spirit days for every student to participate.
Okay, so on December 10th, there is an all-staff meeting. A lot of students are going to be having presentations to talk about future OHS events, and I would like if the board would come just to see presentations led by students. I'm not sure the time, but they're going to talk about Cozy Field Day, which is a day that kicks off Christmas break for the students, and then they're going to talk about signing day, a future OHS event that will be happening, and then other sorts of stuff.
When you find out the time, will you let us know?
Yes.
Great. Anything else, ladies? No? Okay, we're going to move on to our board member discussions, and we'll start with our legislative report from Director Gerber.
I do have some legislative stuff to talk about, but we're going to do it later when we talk about the conference. So nothing right now.
Okay. At this time, I will accept a motion to approve required approvals.
I'll make a motion to approve required approvals.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. I will accept a motion to approve accounts payable warrants 2.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0 with 1 abstention. Now we will hand it over to Dr. Perez for superintendent informational items.
Yeah, we have a few items on the agenda this evening, a WASDA update, athletics update, and then an EP&O levy presentation. I think I want to start with the WASDA conference debrief that would include all of us up here on the panel, minus Director Johnson, who again is transitioning to he's our mayor-elect, I think is the correct term, and that'll be certified tomorrow. I do see Bertie Fote, who's our board member-elect, in the audience, and if you'd like to come forward and participate in the conversation, we'd invite you to do that at the front table, but don't feel obligated till you're sworn in, but the invitation is there. So I just wanted to start with that, and maybe we'll start with the student reps and share maybe one takeaway or one thing that you remember from the conference that you think was a recognition of what we're doing here in Othello, or something we should consider, or just something that you learned or an enjoyable experience you had.
So one of the takeaways that I learned was that like AI isn't going anywhere, so we should use it to like the best of our advantage and make sure that it's used in the best way. And there's students who are learning hands-on experience by putting on virtual headsets, such as like they could even give someone surgery like with using like these tools, but in virtual reality. So that's helpful for people who can go to the medical field. And just AI can like help, like AI is the future like for our students, and that the skills that we're going to need for the future has changed since 20 years ago, so it's going to be more skills based, and I took that as a takeaway.
Okay, so we met with a lot of student board reps from across Washington, and I really appreciate our district specifically because they don't do like their student board reps like how they do with us. I talked to a lot of adults from different districts, and they're like, we don't take our student board reps to Georgia. Well, that's so cool. I'm like, yeah, like we had the opportunity to be able to go all the way to Georgia. I also like learned during the sessions many different things about like special education students, how they do it at their districts. What else did I learn? Sorry, I was so focused on the food. But it was just like a great environment. I got to learn from a lot of wise adults from different districts. It was so fun to like also connect more with the board members. It allowed me to see like, you know, a different side of them other than like the professional side from here.
Great. Birdie, do you want to go next or last? Okay. One thing that made me really proud of our district had to do with our student reps, and in one of the sessions that I sat in, there were people, you know, asking multiple questions about, you know, how many people in the room have student reps? Do you let them speak during your board meetings? Do you, you know, expect them to come with a report? And I was surprised at how many districts do not have student reps, and they were kind of looking to us to teach them how to do that. So that's one thing that I feel really proud of our board that we've always taken really seriously and put a lot of attention into is our student reps and making sure that we have them and that they feel valued. One session that I sat in that made me feel inspired was about the board adopting a cell phone policy for the district so that it doesn't just fall on the high school principal, that it's something that is adopted by the board and then put in place at every school from the high school to kindergarten. And the district that put on that presentation talked about their test scores improving, their the mental health of their students improving, and a whole myriad of things. And I think if all of us are honest with ourselves, we know that cell phones and kids can be really damaging when they are overused, and I think most kids are guilty, and adults, of overusing them. And so that's something that inspired me to look more into that for our district and potentially add that help to Kat and our other leadership at the high school to help them. And another way I felt inspired or felt that I fell short was I went to a class for school board presidents and recognized many things I should be doing a lot better than I'm doing. So hopefully I will be getting better shortly. But those were my takeaways from WASDA.
I had a great time. I was very nervous. I'm not gonna lie. It felt like out of my element because it was my first time kind of being around other people and feeling, you know, the work you're doing is making a difference. But it was really nice to kind of see what other school districts are doing as well. And the big general session, the first one, to just kind of, me and Pete talked about it, like feel inspired and all these emotions. But I think a really big key takeaway from there was I attended a session about levies and bonds and really just understanding more about them, because every time we talk about them, I'm not gonna lie, they go over my head. So it was really nice to kind of hear that. And there was so many people in that session, and just talking about the communications with your staff and then the public and what you can say, what you can't say. So I think for me, that was really important, just knowing where we're headed. I mean, the agenda will talk about levies later, but really just understanding what that means and how that would impact our community moving forward. So, yeah.
Yeah, we had a great time at WASA conference. I went to several great breakout sessions that I wanted to mention just briefly. The first one I went to was the strategic advocacy and kind of the upcoming legislative session. I'm the legislative rep on the board, so I get to work with all those things. Something they talked about a lot was involving like our representatives, our legislators, and inviting them to our schools and working with them and making sure that we're keeping contact with them and letting them know what's going on in our districts and how they can help. So that's something that I'll be working on in the near future. Another one I went to was presented by the Cheney School District. They passed a bond recently, but they failed it the first time, and then they passed it the second time. So they kind of talked about what changes they made, how they were able to connect with the community more, what they did to get it to pass that second time when it had failed the first time. And that was really good. I really liked that one. I went to one with board leadership with the superintendent and kind of just general board relations. Actually, that's the reason why we curved the tables this time. That was something they talked about, was making it easier to communicate with the board for discussions. So we'll see if we like it. We'll see if we put it back. We'll see if we curve it more. We'll see. And then I also went to one on financial oversight, and it did make me appreciate Amy more. Right in the middle of it, they were talking about the board reports that the financial person gives, and then right in the middle of it, someone from a different district raised their hand. They're like, "How can we be sure that they're telling the truth?" And we were all like, well, "Okay." So we appreciate Amy, and yeah, it was a great conference.
I concur. It was a great conference. My first day was filled with governance, which doesn't sound very exciting, but it's much needed in understanding how the board runs. And I think my biggest takeaway was from the keynote speaker. And one of the things that she spoke about was, as a school board, we need to be reminded that we are building cupcakes in the beginning into the wedding cake. Things can run slow, and it can feel like it's at a snail's pace. And I really needed to hear that, because I tend not to be a patient person, and so that was a good reinforcement, because when you are elected to a position that you're really excited about, you just want change and immediately. And it really reminded me to remember that there is a process, and there's a reason for that process, to slow down, you're not making mistakes, and that you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's. And it was wonderful just getting to know each person on the board just a little bit more personally, dancing with the girls, a little bit there in the aisle that we were sitting in was also a lot of fun.
All right. Well, I appreciate you all sharing those experiences and things you learned. I'll share maybe just three. One was from the Quincy School District, very similar to us, a little bit smaller, but similar demographics and experience there. Quincy's presentation was on AI, and I got to hear about their policies, very similar to the policy we have here in Othello. But one place that I thought that they were ahead of us a little bit was supporting teachers at the classroom level and how you design. We have done a lot of work around scope and sequence and lesson design and planning. I don't know that we've given teachers the support they need about, and in Quincy, the way they've categorized it is a red assignment means no AI can be used. That might be a test, that might be a particular activity where it's just you. A yellow assignment might be one that you can use AI to confirm your thinking or to prompt you to get started. And then a green assignment would be, hey, it's open for you to do. But they spell out these categories, and I think those are the kinds of supports our teachers need. As Isabel indicated, it's not going away, and it's our responsibility to make sure that our students know how to use it responsibly. So I think there's some work for us to do at the classroom level in supporting teachers with that work. The keynote that you were talking about, one key takeaway I appreciated there was, and it's what we did, I think, at the conference, and part of the reason to go to some of these conferences. She talked about human doing, and think about that as your resume. I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. But a human being is really who you are as a person. Here's where I grew up. Here's what my family experience has been like. Here's what my interests are, those kinds of things, and how much value that brings to a team as well. So it's got me thinking a little bit about our administrative meetings and taking some time to step back a little bit and remind ourselves about the importance of relationships and who's in the room. And the other piece that came out of that was we've talked in the Othello School District about portrait of a graduate, the skills and dispositions that we want our graduates to have. And we've made some strides to achieving those goals, and we work at it every year. She talked about the importance of the portrait of a leader. What do we expect our leaders at the school level to do? And then our classroom leaders, our teachers, to do. And I'm not sure that's something we've really defined or put vision to. So I think that's another one for us to consider at the central office, to think about the skills and attributes that we want our. There's one thing to have a job description. It's another thing to really line that out for our principals. So I think there's some work to be done there. Was the cell phone policy from Ferndale? Do you remember?
I think so.
Okay. Well, so I'll do a little bit of legwork around that too, and maybe we can partner on exploring that a little bit more. And then it's always an excellent opportunity to get to hang out just with the folks that are feeling the pressure every day of being a board member and taking the phone calls. And it was, I think, good for soon-to-be Director Fote and for Mariah to hear from these guys that it's not as scary as maybe you think it is. And then to be in a room with 1,000 other school board members who are feeling the same pressures and have different political views, that we're all interested in supporting public education in Washington. So really appreciate the board's commitment to professional development, for allowing the student reps to go, and their families for letting them go. We also got to connect with a couple former students who live in the Seattle area, Isabel's family, and got to have a nice meal and celebrate their successes. They were doing some really cool stuff too, and it's nice to see that work get reflected in our kids doing good things out there in the world. So thanks for allowing us to do that. And thank you, Bertie, for stepping up and being willing to come forward. So we look forward to seeing you next time and swearing you in. All right. Well, thank you for that, President Prowse. We'll move on now to, I think we're going to want to go to Carlos Gonzalez, our Director of Student Engagement and Athletics, and ask him to come forward. He's got some data to share with us around athletics before we move into the levy portion of the presentation. He might need a chair.
Sorry, everyone, you don't have to weather a presentation today like you've done in the past. But thanks for having me. I just created a quick outline for myself, but well, one, just thank you for this opportunity to be in this role that I'm in. You know, having had the experiences I've had in our Othello School District, and now to be in this new role, it's pretty cool. I guess one of the best ways I heard about this job as an AD was from a WIAA workshop I attended in the fall from Andy Barnes, and he's one of the assistant executive directors, and he says his kid's in sports, and it's awesome, and so I'm loving it. But I, you know, having had my own experiences as a kid in, you know, Little League youth programs, but you go through McFarland in a high school as a student athlete, having been a coach, assistant coach, and head coach myself, and then, you know, in the admin experiences I've had and also teaching, it's really served me well to prepare me for this role and just how detail-oriented it is. That I know. But what I've also learned this fall is just how much of a steep learning curve it is. You know, you have school administration, but you also have the WIAA, you have standard operating procedures that I've been learning about in the CWAC. And one of the major things that I have to pay attention to are transfers and just the process that entails. All the rules for each sport that are outlined in the handbook, like maximum number of meets or matches or contests, et cetera, all of those things. What I'm also learning to live in is in final forms that we use in our school district that the WIAA monitors for our kids. In terms of clearance, getting all their personal information, medical history, did they read the handbook, and all of that's required for clearance. Something that I also am learning to live in is Arbiter. It's basically the platform that is shared across the state with all of the athletic directors to help assign officials. Every athletic director in the state is responsible in their own, when they host a match or a game, it's their responsibility to program it in and work with their association, officials association, to make sure that we have officials or referees for that. And so there's a lot going on, but in terms of the systems and supports that I've been learning about and trying to improve as best we can, The first thing I'm taken to has to do with our OSD handbook, athletics handbook, which we presented on earlier this fall, where I've been able to use this information to support our head coaches when we have preseason coaches or parent meetings to talk about eligibility around attendance, behavior, and academics, and what those thresholds look like. Being very clear with the families to support those coaches so that if things do arise that lead to probation or suspension, they're aware of that, right? And so that's also been a good support for them too. What's funny is they feel like they can't speak to it, but they know it. They would just rather I talk about it with the parents. And I'm glad to support them that way. But also through that language, we've also have set up eligibility checks. We used to call them grade checks for years, but really when you're talking about attendance, academics, and behavior, those are 3 different areas, so I've kind of renamed them just eligibility checks. And Dr. Josh Meek here, he's helped me immensely to set up a system in homeroom to be able to monitor that every week, every Friday, programming those thresholds in homeroom that talks to Skyward. We're able to flag students who are eligible and those that are not, and being more specific in what area they're not eligible in. And so some of the numbers that we've had around probations and suspensions have been pretty minimal, and that's something to be proud of. I think our kids have responded well when they've been identified as being on probation, and they respond really well to not go to suspension, which is a really good thing. Some numbers to give you an idea. At the high school, out of 258 fall students, we only had 15% of those kids go on probation. And of those 258, only 6% were suspended. And so, there's some learning. All of them, all but one, were able to get off of suspension. So again, the numbers are minimal, but our kids do understand the importance of accountability and responsibility, and they respond when they're informed of that. It also provides us an opportunity to make sure that our kids are aware of what supports are in place. For example, Time After School and Gear Up provides that opportunity at the high school to recover that work or missing work and to improve their grades. And especially on late start Mondays, there's an opportunity provided there too. There's also Saturday school. And so the supports are there for our kids to be able to recover academically. My job is also hiring coaches. We have 33 head coaches between the middle school and the high school every year. What's interesting about that too, I was doing some of the math around it today, and I hadn't thought about it until today, but I saw that we have about more than 140, about 147 coaching positions between McFarland and the high school when you think about the 3 seasons between fall, winter, and spring. That's a lot. That's a lot of coaches. And so, but these are people who, they don't do it for the money. They do it, to be of service to the kids and provide them these opportunities, which is awesome. And so, again, not only personnel, but providing them with equipment, training, transportation, lodging, team schedules, all the logistics that support a season for every sport. That's what I help them with. In those parent meetings too, not only am I talking about eligibility and those thresholds that I shared earlier, I talk about sportsmanship, because I'm sure you guys have become aware that the WIAA now has come out with this idea of fining kids for ejections. And what's interesting, I had an athletic director ask me about 2 or 3 weeks ago how many ejections we've had so far, and I said none. And he was surprised, which I kind of took a little bit of offense to that, but it was a pretty good celebration to be able to share with him that no, we haven't had any ejections. And I think that I would attribute that right now to just being clear about what the expectations are with kids and what the consequences can be, and making sure I'm coaching up our coaches to coach up our kids to make sure that we're behaving the right way and representing our district in the best way possible. And so far we've had a good start. We've had a really good start, because I know historically we have struggled in that area, but we're doing pretty good so far right now. The things I've talked about is transportation, equipment. I also lead the social media piece. Thalia's connected me to Facebook and Instagram. And what's interesting is that when there are these little controversies that happen in the season, people are tagging me to my personal Facebook, which I'm still trying to figure out how to navigate that. But The social media piece has been really important to use to help celebrate our kids, but to inform our community of, what's happening in our program and to celebrate them as much as possible. We also have Parent Square that we use to communicate with everyone. We set up groups where I am the owner of every group, and I set up head coaches as the managers so that they can facilitate that communication for their teams to the families of what's coming up, or if they're away on an away game, informing the family, hey, we're 10, 15, 20 minutes away to come pick up their child. So it's been a very useful tool, and I love Parent Square. It's served us well so far. Final Forms is also an important communication tool that when it comes to clearance, it also has an email feature that anyone who's signed up in that sport, we can send email information to them directly as well. So I am over communicating, I believe, when it comes to Facebook, Instagram, Parent Square, and Final Forms in terms of our communication out of the athletic department to our community. One of the cool things that I do get to celebrate is just I'm part of an amazing CWAC athletic director group. They've welcomed me with open arms. These are people who've been doing it for a while now. Great experiences, not only in the CWAC, but through District 5, through the smallest school districts to the biggest. But specifically for the CWAC, our job is to best advocate for our school as much as possible and put ourselves in the best position to win. But even with that mindset, these people have been so selfless and supportive and offering advice for a new guy like me in this profession. I have to give kudos to those guys and Jonathan Gordon as well, who's the CWAC Sports Information Director, and it's a really cool group to be a part of. And lots of laughs, humor, but they're very professional too. What the CWAC also has been able to support our kids with is in September, we were able to take a group of students to a sportsmanship forum, because that's something that we want to start early in the year to advocate for our kids the importance of sportsmanship. And so we took 6 student leaders, me and Bailey Wilson, to Ellensburg Central Washington University to attend a workshop on that. And it was very insightful. All of the CWAC schools took a group of leaders to do that. And that was a good, memorable day. And just this week or two ago, we also attended the CWAC Leadership Summit, which is something that they do every year as well. And Central's a good central location to do that in our league. And we heard speakers like Rodney Magellan, who is a Navy SEAL, retired Navy SEAL and author out of Grandview. Greg Swenson, who's coached at the high school and collegiate level. He had some really great advice around the psychology of athletics. Mitchell Pitney around nutrition and weight training, and then Isaac Butts, who also played Division I football at the University of Idaho, and he was extremely motivational, and I think he was probably the most memorable speaker that day. But we took about 37 students just this last week to have that experience, and it was profound. It was a really great experience for the kids. So the CWAC does a really good job of not only supporting its kids, but especially highlighting the importance of sportsmanship and then providing opportunities or learning around leadership, which is also profound. And so something I also think that is important to share when it comes to the communication piece, we have been struggling with our old OthelloAthletics.com website. It was purchased by Play On Sports, and it's not been linking or syncing precisely or accurately with Arbiter when it comes to our schedules, our team schedules. And so this has been something that we've been weighing and discussing for weeks, if not months, and just very recently, the athletic directors group decided to sign a contract after deciding between either Mascot Media or Arbiter to go with Arbiter because of the features that they have. It's more aesthetically pleasing, and not only that, but the discounted price that they offered it at through the remainder of this school year. And so we're in the process of launching our new Othello Athletics website through a league contract with the CWAC, which is supposed to launch here in the middle of December. And so I'm looking forward to that. The nice thing about it is We can tailor it to have our Final Forms link in there, to have our OSD Athletic and Activities Handbook in there, a parent release form for travel for away games. If parents want to bring their child back, they can print one, have it ready after a game, hand it to the coach, and take their kids home. Not only that, it would also give an accurate representation of what each team's schedule will look like, to include dates, times, locations, etc. Because it's from Arbiter, it links directly to the Arbiter schedule, which will be so much more helpful. It'll allow us to add links to our ticketing system, our online ticketing system, which is GoFan. And our live streaming through Huddle. And so there's a lot of different features that will be added in time, but right now it's in the process of being developed, with hopefully being launched in the middle of December. More on the very front end of our winter season. So better late than never. There was an idea out there to wait for next year, and I said no. We need this now, because valid concerns from our community around just mix-ups in scheduling and how that's been communicated from the PlayOn website. I'm glad we're getting away from it, so we're looking forward to that launch coming very soon. Sports participation. Right now, at the end of this fall season, between McFarland and OHS, we've had 435 student athletes with 40 coaches, 712. As of now, for winter, we have 463 student athletes, 712 with 53 coaches. And what we're anticipating for spring right now, according to Final Forms for kids that have signed up, we are anticipating 438 student athletes with 53 coaches in the spring. That for the year, total participation right now, as of today, is 1,336 student athletes over the 3 seasons. And of course, those are students who can be multiple sport athletes, but that's 1,336 student athletes for a total of 147 total coaching positions across the district. That would include those that are contracted and those that we know are volunteering. But even those that are volunteering, and we're very grateful to them, who are just giving their time to support our kids, even those coaches are required to go through all the required training through the WIAA. When I talk to the parents about what some of my responsibilities are, a lot of it is to keep, first and foremost, what I share with them is to champion our kids. That's my first job, is to champion our kids. The second part is to really make sure that we're doing things the right way, that does not get the Othello School District in trouble when it comes to compliance. Are the coaches we're putting in front of our kids certified? They have to have their training not only in their specific sport, they have to have a coach's education, they have to have their sudden cardiac arrest, they have to have their CPR first aid. They have to have all of these trainings required before they can even set foot in the practice room or the court or the football field. And so that's my job, is to make sure that we're preparing our coaches, not only hiring the best coaches that we can, but that we're preparing them with all the required certifications to protect our district and our kids, to make sure we're doing it the right way. And so, any questions right now, other than discussions around this idea of reclassification that's coming up in 2 years?
I have a couple quick questions. I also hadn't realized how many coaches that is. Do you do all the hiring for just the head coaches, then they do the assistant coaches, or do you do all of that?
All of it.
You do all of it?
All of it. I know there have been some instances where I've not been available for assistant coaches interviews, but for the most part, I am there for all of them.
That's a lot.
So far.
And then with the new website you're talking about, will that also link with our new district website, like they can get there through our district website? Okay.
I would imagine that the new district website, it would be easy to just add the link to our OthelloAthletics.com, because part of the launch also includes us getting our domain back from PlayOn to Arbiter for that. So if it's just a link, it should not be an issue.
Great. That's a lot to coordinate. Thanks for all you do.
Yep.
I just wanted to say thank you. I know that you have been really holding students accountable, my daughter included, and I appreciate that. I think that that's really good. Making sure that kids are taking their education seriously, and that it's not just they're a student athlete and their student portion comes first. So I appreciate all the accountability you've had for kids since you started this year. And honestly, I think that maybe they didn't think it wasn't going to be that deep, but it turns out it is. Like, you've been really good at making sure that they know their responsibilities, so thank you for that. Reclassification, this is the first I've heard of that. What does that mean? Can you expand?
The WIAA every 4 years has a 4-year cycle where they would reclassify schools depending on their enrollment. And right now, there's nothing to worry about because we're still 2 years away. It's just things that have come up around what new amendments could change some of the rules in the WIAA handbook that impact classification for schools. The way they do it at the WIAA, they take the enrollment to 9/11, and then they have a range of enrollment that places different high schools in different classifications, 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. For 3A, you have to be between 900 to 1,200 students. Right now, if we were to go through the enrollment process with the WIAA, minus the idea of socioeconomic factors, we are actually on the heavier end of a 3A school district without socioeconomic factors. And what I'm understanding right now is there is an amendment that's being proposed to remove the idea of socioeconomic factors, which then, if that is the case, they would just take our actual enrollment starting in January 2027 through the end of the year to then determine where schools go for the 28-29 school year. And so in the WIAA handbook, socioeconomic factors is part of the formula for schools. What they do in that formula, they take the state average, which is roughly, and we're talking low income, about 49.8%, 50%, and they take the difference of that state average to what the high school or school district is, which is only a 1 to 2% difference between OSD and OHS. So let's say 82%. You take that 32, 33%, and you take that off of the actual enrollment to put you in that appropriate range, which for us, it puts us comfortably in 2A. You take that away, let's say that amendment does get passed, then we're easily a 3A school district.
I know what's hard with that is we can barely compete in the 2A. I mean, we would get demolished if we went 3A. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Fingers crossed.
If that is the case, there is an opportunity to appeal. And so there are steps for that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Carlos.
Yep. I do have to say, before I go, any other questions from anyone? I do have to say that, when you're a principal, you can share this work with assistant principals, department chairs, and amazing office staff, security, paras, you name it. It's just been me and Coraima Torres, our OSD secretary, who's amazing. She's new to this job too, and Joey Villarreal has also been a godsend when it comes to being event coordinator, which is huge in and of itself. But I've also learned in this job that everyone has a hand in the work. Dr. Perez, with his support of our program with play clocks, wrestling mats, things of that nature that are very spendy outside of our athletic budget, and our district's been supportive of that. So thanks to Amy Suarez, Sandra Villarreal, when it comes to being able to add coaches where we need them because of our really good numbers. For example, girls wrestling, and being able to add a coach there. Greg Foltz and his maintenance crew, with last week having to prepare a field that was not as playable as it could be, but they did an amazing job in making it playable. The custodians, especially the game workers, Marion Shade. I mean, I can go on and on and on. It takes a community, and all these people have done an amazing job. And of course, to my wife for supporting me with the hours, but she's been amazing. But thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Carlos. Before we move on to the conversation about the levy and the committee that got together, I think there's going to be a component they talk about around levy equalization, and it's, I think, a very similar concept in the state of Washington to this, the factors that the state uses when considering classification. Because when you get in a 3A and 4A community that might be more affluent, and you have kids that can do travel baseball, and then a whole nother set of kids that can do travel basketball, and a whole nother group that's little guy wrestling, and you just have a lot more opportunity and experience. More kids would be able to participate at the high school level. And when Washington made that move, it really balanced it out and made it make more sense. We are just fortunate in Othello that we have a heck of a lot of kids that turn out because we offer cool programs. We don't do a lot of cutting at the middle school. We let them develop that talent. We always have a C team at the high school, and other schools don't. So I hope that if the state does move that direction, that we have a chance to share our voice and talk about the experience we have, not only from a competitive point of view, but also from a equity point of view, which you're going to hear a little bit about from our folks here on this panel. So thank you for sharing those numbers, Carlos. I think we should, just like we celebrated the arts today, we celebrate the success that we have on the field, and always look for a chance to beat someone in football, or now it's going to be wrestling. So thanks for that. And as an outstanding athlete myself, I always like to hear these stories. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Meek.
Before we start on the levy, I didn't get my chance to share my highlight from WASDA, but mine was really simple. My highlight was surviving the trip with Marissa at the wheel all the way to Seattle and back. So.
Well, we also got to go to Bellevue and back, just
Twice,
on a little side tour. Oops.
All right, could you pop up that presentation after I was just mean? All right, well, we are excited to be here tonight to give you some information and background about an important recommendation that we're asking you to consider. Before we start that, though, I'm going to ask all of us, everybody else besides Amy and myself, because you know who we are, but I'm going to ask the other two to please introduce themselves.
I'm Kayla Spohr. I teach 3rd grade at Hiawatha.
I'm Nicole Freeman. I'm just a parent of students in the school district.
So what all of us have in common is we're the representatives tonight from our Future Ready Schools team, and there's in the audience, there's a whole lot of other people that have also been active participants in this. But if you remember several weeks ago, actually a couple of months ago now, we launched this with the idea of having this collective district-wide effort on really looking at our future needs for our schools and resources. And so tonight we're going to fill you in on where we are and kind of what's next and some exciting developments to go along with that. Do you want to talk?
Okay. Yeah, they pulled together this meeting to try to get a lot of members of the community there, to get a lot of different voices, and to hear from school members, people in the community that have an interest, parents, those kinds of things. And I appreciated that effort and get to know people and get to see different perspectives and things. I thought that was really great about the meeting. Something that I appreciated a lot was the information that was presented. There was a lot of facts and data and things that was concrete and made it easy to with definitions and things to help understand what's really going on, what we're actually facing, and how we can move forward with that. So,
yeah, thank you. I'm glad to hear that, because if you remember, and you've seen this slide before, so it's a repeat for you, but one of our goals in there is to really use data to inform the decisions that sit in front of us, because we can all have a really emotional response about what we think is the right thing, but the data really points us in a key direction, and you're going to see some of that tonight related to that. So.
Yeah, so the committee started by having a shared understanding of how the school funding works. Levies, bonds, all the different acronyms and vocabulary were kind of thrown at us. I missed the very first meeting when they went over all that. They did during conferences. Was an ideal time for me. So I attended another meeting and kind of got a crash course in all of those. So my understanding might not be at the highest level, but I did the best I could. But it's all very interesting, and I felt very privileged to learn about it. So I think more people should join this committee as it moves forward with whatever you guys decide, because I think it's going to be really important for people's understanding. One of my takeaways, or something I didn't know, was how the formula the state uses to fund the schools and how inefficient it is, and that we need these levies to support our staff. Our staff programs and things like athletics and the arts that we both had represented tonight. The levy helps fill those gaps that when the state doesn't give us enough money, the levy helps that. As a teacher, those things are really important to us and our students, that we have the support to have all of our programs that we use every day. Feel free to pop in if I'm missing anything. The group that our committee has reached an alignment to recommend a levy rate and timeline, and you're going to hear tonight kind of why we reached what we did and how we got there. You can probably go to the next slide.
I just want, before we move on from this slide, I do want to just add that if you remember, the levy was our first kind of topic of conversation, and we're quickly transitioning now into the capital side of things, so bonds and capital projects and what might be the future for that. And so we started with kind of smaller pieces and building onto them. And so you probably can sense everyone up here is really excited to talk about this because they feel super comfortable about it. I've given them a hard time that they are now the most knowledgeable community members and staff members about levies and bonds in our community, and they look at me like I'm crazy. But it's true. It's true. They've done a lot of learning over the last 6 weeks, and certainly Lindsay and Aaron have been participating in that as well, and so I thank you for that involvement. So.
This lovely graph shows how the levy dollars are divided up in the district and where they're spent. One thing to note, I know how much this community loves athletics and activities, and that's the next biggest chunk after staff compensation and benefits. So passing this would be really important for the representation that we had tonight from theater and athletics. Staff compensation and benefits, that's important to us as teachers to get the support that we need. From what I learned about the state, one example we talked about was their formula gives us half of a security guard or something like that. So having those and counselors and things like that, those supports in place is really important to teachers. Did I miss anything?
No, you didn't. I want to kind of stick with what Kayla just shared there, because I think it's an important piece, is that big red chunk of that pie graph might be a little bit misleading, because it might look like the money is just supporting staff. But the big difference, and Kayla pointed this out, but one of the greatest opportunities there is the levy allows us locally to make some determinations and decisions about what are the right supports to be put in place for our students in our schools. And so, for example, that we're fortunate to have a counselor in each of our elementary schools. We're fortunate to have not a half of a security officer to cover the whole district, but instead we have 4 across the district, as well as a partnership with the police department for an SRO program. So all of those different things kind of build together, and that's one of the ways that staff compensation and benefits really becomes important for us. And so while the levy has you can see lots of different ways that it's spent, all of them really provide the extras, if you will, to our students that many of us probably wouldn't really consider extra. Like none of us would say, it would be great to have a half a security officer for the entire district. We would really feel that struggle with that. So I know Amy probably wants to.
I just want to add that the $7.3 million is levy and LEA that we received in the 24-25 school year and how we spent it.
And we're going to explain that one here in a second, what that really means. But any other? Nicole, did you want to? I don't want to. Anything from that chart that stood out to you or that you remember that?
No, I concur.
Okay.
What you all said is great.
Okay. The other thing I want to point your eyes to, we've been using kind of a central landing page for our team's work, and we will continue to grow to that. It's linked here from the presentation, but really it's a way of kind of building a collection of the documents, the artifacts, our agendas, all the different information. So if anybody wants to go back and reference it, or if they're confused about something, there's a common place to go find it without having to search for it. These guys are right. This whole, and you know it from our time in June when we did our retreat, is there's a lot of terms and a lot of acronyms and a lot of different things that get really confusing very quickly. And we're kind of overcomplicating it because we're talking about educational programs and operations levies, capital levies, and capital bonds. And so they all kind of have different terms that come along with it. And so if you're interested in checking that out, there's just a link there for you to see kind of the work that's progressed over time. We also have populated that with a FAQ, so as questions came up in the committee, so that everybody would get the answer, that they're populated in there. And so a good example is somebody asked, what's happening with enrollment in Othello? You know, what's our long-term outlook for enrollment? And so we were able to provide that information and have it in a place so people can always go back and reference it. So.
Okay, so after the 3 meetings and all that information, we are coming to you with our recommendation. Our recommendation is for us to maintain, it's a replacement levy, education programs and operations levy, at $1.50 per $1,000 of the assessed value. We want to go for a 4-year levy this time, so it would cover 2027 through 2030. And you can see there what the levy collections would be. So some background factors. Again, I want to make sure we emphasize that this is a replacement levy. It's not a new levy. We recommend the $1.50. It keeps us aligned with what we're currently collecting, what we projected to collect during the current levy. The $1.50 is the lowest amount that we can get from a community in order for us to maximize the local effort assistance that we get from the state. Anything less than the $1.50 will reduce our local effort assistance amount. And then passing a levy would help us stabilize or continue to have a stable financial outlook. And I do say the truth.
I want to make it clear.
Very clear. And it's so the replacement levy will be for 4 years. The reason we thought 4 years would be good is because it'll give us time to put that in the future and then focus on the upcoming capital and bonds that we want to also focus on. So this is a small change. So previous, I'm not sure, at least the past 2 or 3 times it's been 3 years. I don't know if we've ever done a 4-year. This might be the first time that we're going for a 4-year. But I did look around the region, and it's pretty common. Like all the 3 in the Tri-Cities are doing a 4-year levy as well. So it's not something that's not uncommon. And then going for a 4-year, running a levy costs money. And so this will help us reduce our costs. So, any questions on that?
Maybe just so that people listening could hear this, how much money do we lose from LEA, which is our state, the money that the state gives us if we don't pass our levy? So we have levy dollars and then LEA dollars.
Let's first, that's a great segue.
Okay.
Let's first look at what we are collecting, and then we can also talk about if we were to drop below that $1.50, what the impact would start to be. So I hope this slide is really compelling to other people besides those of us that have had a lot of time to study it. But if we took that entire 4-year levy, EP&O replacement levy package and considered it one large pot, now granted it comes in over the 4 tax years, but what that means is that locally we would pay $19.4 million in taxes, and we would collect from the state local effort assistance $26 million. So you see that when back on this chart, when we had that $7.3 million total in there, that's a combination of both the local levy money that we collect and the state assistance. And as Amy said, we have to collect at the $1.50, otherwise it starts backing away from there. Another way to think about this is that every local dollar that gets paid into it brings $2.38 into the district. And so it's a pretty good return on the dollar, if you will. I don't want to forget your question, though, Lindsay, and so I do want Amy to talk a little bit about if we were to back off from that $1.50, what would start to happen?
Just really quick, and so we don't get the LEA if we don't pass the levy, right?
Correct.
We don't get any of that.
Yeah.
Correct.
And if you don't pass it at the $1.50. So.
So I didn't calculate what we would lose moving forward, but I can tell you what we lost going backwards. So when we passed the current levy in for 24, 25, and 26, because the assessed values went a lot more than what we expected, in those years, the amount collected per thousand was $1.23 in 2024, $1.23 in 2025, and we're projecting $1.31 in 2026. So that means we've only gotten a certain percentage of our local effort assistance. The loss in that is $3.2 million in the 3 years.
So it's a significant hit. And if you notice, the numbers that she shared, we were all in the $1.20, $1.30 range, so it doesn't seem like it's a big difference, but that 19 to 20 some cent difference really adds up to over $3 million of lost state local effort assistance. And so that's part of the real decision of recommending the $1.50 place to start. It is also worth knowing that the $1.50 is, in our state, you can run a levy up to $2.50 a thousand. You don't get more local effort assistance beyond that. So the $1.50 is kind of the sweet spot, if you will. It's the minimum that it takes, and it's also where it maxes out. And so.
Yeah, and there's a lot of calculations that go into the local effort assistance that is not in our control. So assessed value and enrollment is they're two big factors that we have no control. It takes a big
and local poverty rates as well.
And the local poverty rates.
Yeah. Before we move on, I want to make sure we address any questions about what we've talked about so far, because then we're going to start to talk about what's next here in a second. But anything that... Okay. Well, this again is a repeat of a slide, but tonight you're getting the first look at our recommendation. Next meeting, as long as everything goes well in the final part of this, that we don't hear from you to go otherwise, you'll have a levy, a replacement EPO levy resolution for action for you on the December 8th meeting. That would require your action, and then we would turn around and file it right away. Amy has already done 2 key steps to kind of facilitate this along the way, is we do already have OSPI's initial approval for this levy package that aligns with all the financial guidelines and rules. And then Amy has also contacted all of our levy runs in 3 different counties because of where our school district sits, and so she's made contact with all of the auditors' offices at each of those counties, letting them know that we're anticipating submitting an initiative coming for the February election. So that would happen by December 12th, which is the deadline, and then that election would occur on February 10th. It is worth noting, and Amy's done a lot of research too, a lot of districts around us will have February levy elections. We know for sure Warden, we think Pasco, Richland, are all of those going to be running? Mm-hmm. So there's the big 3 in the Tri-Cities as well as Warden. And so there's definitely, this coming February is going to be a real levy push across the entire region is really With that, any questions, concerns you have? We will, again, present you next week with the full levy. It's a long legal document as a resolution. Go ahead, Arian.
So this Future Ready team continues into the future with board decisions about the bond and everything. Is there anything we can do to help to bring more people and bring more voices, like you said earlier?
I think whatever we can do to get more voices at the table. I've been very appreciative of those people that have been there so far and have been sticking out, but we definitely we need and want more people, especially as we start to talk about the capital projects. And these guys know this because when we talked about it before is, the capital work of a bond requires a 60% supermajority, and they got to learn the reason for that is it is a long-term investment for a community. You're really setting the path for at least the next 30, but more likely 50 years for a community. And if we're going to have success in that, and if we're going to really put together a bond package that meets the needs of this community, I think we need some more voices at the table. So we're open. I mean, at the beginning, we kind of did a round of invitations and asked lots of people to give us volunteers, and have been very fortunate. Nicole, she isn't just sitting here because she drew the short straw, but she's been a key member of this group. She's made it to every meeting, and she's even brought some friends, even though they live in her house, along to learn about this and to study it. But certainly, the more that we can get it out there, and we'll go to a larger venue if we need to. But I feel like, at least by the people that have come and participated, is it's time well spent, and it really helps build the understanding, but also to really know that we're making the right decisions on behalf of our district. So the next meeting is December 8th. If you have any people you wanted me to reach out to or us to reach out to, we gladly will. I'm also okay if you grab them and bring them with you, because that's okay too. So.
Great. Thank you so much. All the information is really great. I appreciate Josh and Amy have to be here, so I appreciate you, Kayla and Nikki, for giving of your time and your talents and coming here and participating and presenting to us. I really appreciate your guys' effort. Thank you. You? Okay. We're going to move on to policy review. We have a few policies that we need to read through, and then at our next meeting, we will put those in. We'll vote those in. At this time, do we have any public comment? No public comment, so we'll move on to upcoming events. November 24th, we have a regular board meeting. That's today. November 26th through the 28th. Marissa, you can't do stuff like that. I'll just read it straight. Oh. Anyways, okay, November 26th to the 28th is Thanksgiving break. December 8th is our next regular board meeting at 12, and then December 17th is our final board meeting of 2025 at 12 p.m. Does anyone have anything else to add? Ken, do you have any details about Christmas baskets?
I do.
Okay.
And I'm very grateful for the schools and all the work they do with that to help us put on a very successful event. It even started off today with the high school. Over the last couple weeks, have been doing a Stuff the Bus. And with the help of, let me read off the list, the Ofellow High School's FCCLA leadership, FFA, FBLA, MECA, and Life Skills all come together, and we actually, when we unloaded the bus, we were able to stack 3 pallets full, almost 5 foot high. There was quite a bit there for a good start. And Vanessa Billman promised me more next year, double that. So we'll see. But she's doing great work with the kids on gathering all that stuff. The Fireman's Breakfast will be on the 7th of December, which is always at the Eagles Lodge, and we're shooting for the 20th for our delivery date. The information should be coming out to the schools on how to find these families where these baskets go to. That should be coming out just right after Thanksgiving. But otherwise, I really appreciate the help, and it's been very nice and been a good working relationship.
Okay, we will move on to our board self-assessment of the meeting. Before we do that, I just want to make one quick clarification. Ken, will you be here next board meeting? Can we invite you to come on the 8th?
I can be here.
Okay. Or is it the 9th?
The 8th?
The 8th. Okay. Can you come to our next board meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Would really appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to the board self-assessment of the meeting. And I can't do all the comments. I talk the whole time. So Aaron, Mariah?
There was a lot of really great stuff today, from the recognition from the students and the athletic presentation and the presentation on the levy recommendation. Yeah, today was a really good meeting. A lot of good information that is important concerning the community. So.
It was nice to hear from Carlos as well, just to hear we haven't had any ejections as of yet, so fingers crossed, and just seeing how our athletic participation is great. I was very surprised to hear that only 6% were in the suspension and only 1 stayed there throughout the year, so that was honestly really nice to hear. Just, I don't know, when I heard about the whole system that was happening, I was like, man, there's gonna be problems, so it's nice that there isn't, so it was nice to get that update.
Mariah knows because she won state in softball.
State champion on our board, guys.
I also appreciate a lot the drama club recognition. I went to one of them and they were really, really good. Their acting is awesome. I loved it. I'm very grateful for like the teachers who like push drama club out there to like promote it, because not a lot of students know that work goes behind the scenes, and they don't. I guess our school doesn't acknowledge things like that other than like sports and stuff like that. And I'm very grateful we got to bring students from the drama club to be able to, present to us.
Agreed.
I also like how we discussed how effective WASDA was for all of us and the major takeaways that we had for it. And to thank you for allowing me and Lily to go to the WASDA conference.
My delta tonight is that we don't have a full board. And I also want to say thank you to our levy committee, our Future Ready committee, for the effort that you and time that you've put in. Josh, I know even behind the scenes, all of the effort that you've put in to lead the committee and kind of guide everybody through. And you have to baby talk us a little bit because we don't know all the lingo. So I appreciate all of the effort to dumb it down for us. Thank you.
I like the tables curved. I think
I do too.
We could do even more, I think.
I agree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're almost going to turn into a round table.
Face each other.
Yeah. I also want to say thank you to Dr. Perez for all of the hard work and effort that you put into making WASDA a good experience for everyone. I know you are thoughtful about where we eat and the time that we spend together and the classes that we go to and just everything. So I just really appreciate your effort in making our board what it is. So thank you so much. Even though you did eat without me at my favorite restaurant, I'm going to forgive you someday. But thank you.
I also want to add thank you to Dr. Perez as well, because we came back right at the hotel to drop everybody off after a long day. And then he took me and Isabel to downtown and we were able to go on the Ferris wheel. I love that a lot. And, it was a great experience because I don't go out a lot. And I love that he was, able to walk with us a whole mile down to take us to the Ferris wheel.
At my age, I made it a whole mile. Yeah. The part she won't tell you is I had to tell Isabel 7 times, why are you running? Slow down.
And I told him I had long legs to put them to use.
He didn't write the table thing.
That's right, Aaron is ahead of the curve. That's what he wants.
Okay, anything else? Want to say thank you to everyone who's in the audience and who has stuck with it tonight and most other Monday nights when you come to our board meetings. I really appreciate that we're not just talking to a wall. So thank you so much for coming. At this time, the board is going to recess into executive session for 30 minutes to discuss the performance of a public employee. This meeting is adjourned.
Because we want.
Oh, my goodness. Yep. It won't be very long. I can get back up there because they got a couple issues up there next week I want to be on. Or make sure they don't do that. Don't do that. They're still trying to appoint another council